right, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome in. It's episode 7 of the Jocks and Jills podcast presented by CCM. It's Julie Cherry, Tessa Benum with you. Happy Monday. How was your weekend? How are we feeling on this fun Monday?
It feels like Monday on this Monday.
I'm extremely deep Monday right now. I'm in deep Monday territory.
What's up with Monday, man? Holy Moses. Even when I drop my kids off at school.
Is Sunday. Because I think we both had a little bit of a Sunday yesterday. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yesterday, my friend texted me at like 10 a.m. and was like, you want to fill in? You and Liam, we're short at ball hockey. She plays ball hockey at this like high school in downtown Toronto with a bunch of her like Western buddies, except this Western frat had a reunion, so all the guys weren't there. Anyways, me and Liam fill in and play ball hockey. Humbling sport on a gym floor. My lower back is sore today. I have to say that. We got absolutely rinsed. And then we went out with the team afterwards for a couple post 1 p.m. ball hockey beers. And suddenly it was 8 p.m. and I was in the keg. And I was like, what is going on? I have to go home. This is crazy. I agreed to ball hockey at 1 p.m. and now it's 9:30 and I'm in the keg. Anyways, that is how my Sunday went off the rails. How did yours go off the rails?
You got sucked into day drinking, you did. A better day drinking than night drinking, though,
But it turned into night drinking. It was 8 o'clock, bro. Day drinking on Sunday, whatever. But then it was 8 o'clock and I was like, you need a life.
Yeah, but did you shut it down by like 10?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
It was all good.
You're laughing.
It was all good.
You're okay. Yeah, we had skating with Theo in the morning. And then afternoon, he's dropping his nap, and like,
oh, that must be hard. I struggle
think
when I drop my nap.
Man, I don't think anybody prepares you for that because we still have Annie who's 2 who naps, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's when we like usually cash in a nap for ourselves, or you actually get something done, you know?
Right. Revolutionary.
And Theo's just like, nah, I'm not doing it, and we're like, please do it. I'm like, so then I tried to implement like quiet time playing, and he was like, okay, I'll play quietly, but you're playing with me. And it's like, nah, I'm not. Like, I got stuff to do. I got a PWHL game to watch. And he's like, if you don't play with me, I'm going to yell loud. And it's like, how is this miniature human being running my life right now?
He's running your
so
show,
next thing you know, God, Ed's at work. I'm chugging a Red Bull, playing with my kid. Anyways, and finally, he's so tired, right? So he's like, we went and watched my nephew Joel play hockey, and we're on our way there, and he obviously crashes in the car. We're like,
nice.
That ain't it. You're not staying up till 10. So we wake him up immediately, take him in the rink. And then obviously he's so tired at night, he crashes. So he finally goes down. And then I was like, let's go downstairs and play some darts, have some fun ourselves. So obviously the Red Bull was still kicking in me. And we got into a little bit of the brown juice, and then next thing you know, it's late at night, and we should have been sleeping 4 hours prior. So
yeah,
here I am on a Monday, and I drop my kids off at daycare, like I was saying, and my son starts the day outside, so I drop him off outside, and there's this one little kid on the other side of like the little kid fence, and he's just standing there crying, screaming, and I was like, yes, dude. Yes,
I feel like that today as well, sir.
Yeah.
I sent you that video. Me and Liam had some ice over the weekend, or on Thursday, I guess, and I posted a video. First of all, Liam, my own boyfriend, uses the same like little thong looking jock that you do that clips onto his socks, which I hate.
My guy.
But something I hate even more that I learned about him skating with him is that he puts his skates on before his hockey pants. This was very disturbing to me, and I was even more disturbed. It has like 350,000 views on TikTok, and everyone is telling me that he is correct. What?
That is insane.
Right?
That's not how you get. You know what the argument is? I bet you I haven't read any of the comments, but the people that do,
I know that you're going to pick up on it right away.
Yeah. Do you know what their argument is and why they do that? Is because they can't bend over to tie their skates. It's
I know. Everyone was like, my dad bod supports this message. And I'm like, well, I didn't realize I was body shaming anyone, so I don't want to get into this mess. I just think it's silly. I didn't mean to offend anyone, but this is stupid.
Yeah.
He has a huge hole in the back of his hockey pants. I'm like, you know what would solve this? If you just put your pants on before you like have knives on your feet.
Exactly. I don't know, man. That's just not the way you get dressed. For whatever reason, I relate that to ringette players for some reason.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But like they wear Cooperalls, don't they?
Still? I don't know. I don't know. See, we're gonna
We
offend
need to
somebody
ask
else now. We
Susanna
have to move on.
Tapani. We gotta ask
Right.
Susanna Tapani about that. Yeah.
She does it
Anyways, enough
all.
about those silly pants.
Anything else? Any other highlights from the weekend?
Mm, not really. I'm alive on this Monday, and so I'm happy.
We're
That's it.
alive and
I
we made
did
it.
actually, you know what? I do have one thing, and I'm very proud of
Tell
my
me.
children. I don't want to say proud. Sorry. I don't want parent shaming me. I brought my kids after Theo didn't nap for the second day in a row. Um, and he wakes up. I'm like, we're getting out of the house. Like, I'm gonna run you ragged. So I brought them to like an indoor play place.
Nice.
And so like I'm gonna hammer out some stuff for Jocks and Jills. I'm gonna do some work. And so it's like a really condensed indoor play place. Like I sat right near the exit. Like they can't really go anywhere. And so I'm typing, I'm having an eye on my kids, and then I do a little bit of work, and like 3 minutes later I pick my head up, I look, and Theo is like kind of on top of a bigger kid, and Annie is there wailing on him. And I'm like, so I get up. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, what is going on over here? And Annie looks up at me and is laughing. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're playing. And I look, and the boy is like a little bit upset. And so I'm like, Theo, get off of him. I'm like, oh my gosh, where's your mom? Are you okay? I'm like, kids, everyone say sorry. So, and they were like reluctant. I'm like, say sorry. We don't hit. Like, if like, use your words. Like, what happened here? So the little boy just got up and kind of ran off and went down the slide and kept playing. So clearly, I don't think he was two-faced, but like, I was
Yeah.
looking around for like another parent to come and be like, yo, your kids are jerks. So then I'm like, what happened here? And the other little boy comes back around, and Theo's like, he pushed Annie. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, Annie, did he push you? And he's like, yeah. She's like, yeah. And Theo's like, so I pushed him back. I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, Theo, like, come on, bud. He's like, and then he pushed me. And I'm like, oh. And then Annie's like, and I hit him. So both of my kids basically were like, you don't mess with us
Yes.
Fioris. Yeah. And I
Honestly,
was
you
like, you
can't
know
be
what?
too mad about that. That's like one of my
He wasn't,
mom's
the
favorite
kid
stories
wasn't
to
hurt.
tell.
He was just kind of like, whatever. And he was older.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know. Anyways, I
My
was proud of my
sister
kids for
used to be
sticking
like
up
the
for each
quietest
other.
little kid, and there's this great story about, I don't know, I guess I was getting this older kid at a swimming pool was giving me a what for, and my sister, I was 4 and she was 2, like she was small. Maybe we were a little older than that. Maybe
Yeah.
she would have been like 3, but she just walked up and
Yeah.
suckied the kid and said, "Don't bug my sister," and suckied him.
No way.
My mom had to pack up all the stuff. She's like, "We're leaving the pool. I can't deal with this
Yeah.
embarrassment. I've got, I've got some like daughter that just walks up and sucker punches random kids." So you know what?
Amazing.
It's good. You got to have siblings on your side. That's a beautiful bond being created. You should be proud.
I'd rather them, battle others together than battle each other.
It's better to have a
So,
gang.
yeah,
100%.
Fury. You know what? I always say we're on the same team. We're all on the same team. Come on, team. So I'm just trying to like instill that. Apparently, it's working.
It
So
worked.
just gotta, you know, lower the intensity level on the bar fights kind of thing. I don't know. And
Yeah.
we tell them all the time. We're like, we wrestle at home. We're like, you only wrestle with us here. Like that is it. Clearly, that message has not been received. So
That's okay. That one was deserved. They get the pass. So
yeah, that's
that's
cool.
that's 3 stars for Theo and Annie. And with that, let's get to our headlines of the week, brought to you by Molson. All right, this week's headlines are brought to you by Molson Canadian. Shout out to Molson Canadian. They're going to be partnering with us for the next 2 weeks. So this week and 2 weeks after that in celebration of International Women's Day. So Molson's always been around the game of hockey. They're such a good partner. They're like the beer when it comes to hockey. And now they're into the women's game, which is just such a natural tie-in. Also exciting. There's a couple exciting surprises to come, Tessa, with Molson and the
Mm-hmm.
PWHL around International Women's Day. We can't spoil anything, but there is one
Not allowed.
specifically really exciting, can I say Jersey-based partnership? That's not spoiling too much, I don't think. But there's
No, I
going
think
to be
that's okay.
some fun spice coming to PWHL uniforms, courtesy of Molson, and that's all we'll say this week. Other than thank you so much, Molson, for sponsoring this segment the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
And you said that they were involved with women's hockey. Now, they always have been. They
Yeah.
huge part in my career. I mean, they always support us. Pat McElhinney used to be with Molson. He's not with them anymore, unfortunately. But he always ran fundraisers for us ladies and for our families. And obviously, those iconic pictures with the shutter shades and stuff afterwards. Molson crews all over it.
Yeah.
So we love Molson. We love that they continue to get involved and continue to support the women's game. So thank you, Molson. We'll be enjoying a couple cold bevies on your behalf this Monday evening.
Gorgeous. So our headline's brought to you by Molson, and our first one of the week. Welcome back to hockey, and welcome to the PWHL, Melanie Daoust. She gets the game-winning goal in her first PWHL game, and Montreal's just rolling right now. You could just see the chem with her and Poulin. Like, they just don't miss a beat.
No, it's like it was like they had never been apart. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, well, like how often have they've obviously been skating a lot together, clearly. Yeah. Like this looked just a little like the glove fit too good. And so I messaged her. I was like, hey man, loved seeing you out there. That was awesome. How often you been skating with Pooh? She's like, oh no, I've only been able to skate with the team maybe 2, maybe 3 times a week. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, so this is why you're just badass and good at hockey, I guess. Yeah. And I was like, well, what expectations did you have for yourself? I mean, like, let's be honest, like, what a game. And she was like, literally, I set 0 expectations for myself. All I wanted to do was have fun out there and get back to doing that. And in my head, I'm like, that's why she's good. And then she was like, the only worry I had was like, I just wanted to apply the systems properly. Yeah, I didn't want to be that person that was like out there lost. And I was like, well, you didn't. You didn't look lost at all. She did not miss a beat. Makes me so happy. Not that Montreal needed the boost by any means.
Such a boost,
but, what all the other teams are like, well, come on,
Yeah.
So you love to see it.
Yeah, that's not chemistry that you could build like even in the 6-month period that there's been in the PWHL. That's chemistry going back a long time with Daoust and Poulin.
Their hockey brains work in the same way.
For sure. Their little like that pass that Pooh gave to feed Daoust, Poulin, who by the way has 6 points in her last 2 PWHL games. She's on fire right now. Like that pass she gave her was gorgeous. Like they just have such a feel for where one another is on the ice. And I feel like Ambrose is involved in that as well.
And I think that that's just what's going to happen is those top players are just going to continue to get a boost. And like I said, like that play was a set play. They knew it was going to happen and they knew they were going to score, period. Yeah. Who's like, they look at each other like, we're doing it. And the goal, and everyone else is standing there. Goalie's like, what's happening? And it's like, well, the puck's in the net. That's what happened. Yeah. You talk about Pooh's points. It's almost like she's the best player in the world or something. And she is. And she's doing what she needs to do to continue to make her team successful. But there is someone else on the team that is helping make Montreal incredibly successful, Julia. And I love everything about this. And we've kind of grazed on it, if you will. Like we've made it a little bit, I don't even want to say a full appetizer, just like a little cracker as you're walking by the fridge. But Elaine Chuli, every other team out there is like, that's the goalie tandem we want, like, okay, Desbiens, sure. Awesome. Great. One of the top goalies in the world, hands down. But when I was talking with Sammy Jo Small after this win for Elaine, I was like, sorry, Sammy Jo Small, by the way, was her GM with the Toronto Six and with the Toronto Fury. I was like, what about her? It makes her like this good? Because before this, I knew she was a starter, right? And that's got to be tough. Like, you're a starter. And what, like, different position, you have to buy in. You don't buy in, you're kind of ruining the dynamic in a dressing room. Although I've never really known, it's so weird. And I don't know if you can relate to this, Julia, but like I've never known a goalie tandem or a goalie threesome that don't get along. Like they all get along. And it's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird because they're all competing for the same spot. So I figured, that's got to be tough for her, to swallow that pill. I mean, she was worried. She did admit when she got drafted to Montreal because she was like, am I ever gonna see a lick of ice behind Desbiens? And Sammy was just like, no, you are. Like, you got to change your mindset on this. So she looked at it as an opportunity to learn from the best goalie in the world and just strive to be the best tandem in the league. And that goal was attained, and it has been, it's unbelievable the precedent these two are setting. It's hard not to cheer for her. I mean, if I'm any other team around the league that like thinks I need a little bit of a goalie boost, I'm like looking at what I can get done with Montreal, because Elaine Chuli has proven that she is the best backup in the league and that she does have what it takes to be a starter. Like like she's a starter in this league. There's no doubt in my mind. And she's just sitting in a backup role right now, which is totally cool. And I can't even think of a team right now. Like I'm looking down the list, like whose starter
Nobody's got a
hasn't really
goalie
been
issue, really. Yeah.
I know. And she just needs a new team.
No. But we
Do you know what I
got
mean?
like
And it's
5
like, man,
games, 5 wins, 6 goals against in 300 minutes played, league best, 962 save percentage. Like Elaine
like,
truly is all that right now. So
oh,
the question I think I want to put to you about her, Tessa,
yeah.
is truly the target at the trade deadline. Like, is she?
I,
We had a little trade bait board going, a la TSN. Would she be a
yeah.
top it?
Well, I mean, I would put her on it because like I said, at the beginning of the year, if I was Toronto, with Campbell just struggling to find her footing, the team really not getting things done. They had Erica Howe try to step in to fix things. Nothing was really going well. Both of their goalies were at the bottom of the barrel. It was like, oh man. And you know how much a good goalie can like make or break a team. I mean,
Yeah.
so I feel like yes, I would put her on it, but like you said, no team out there is really like, man, we need a goalie, we got a problem. So unless an injury happens or something like that, I don't know. And it's gonna cost. It's gonna cost
Oh yeah.
to get her.
Yeah.
So they're not throwing her away for free. And quite frankly, like Corey Chevy's probably laughing, thinking like, I can Debier going to be rested for the playoffs because Chuli can carry as many games as she wants. And even if Debier isn't rested or, needs a playoff game or to take a rest or two, it's like, cool, Chuli, your turn.
Yep.
And there's like no sweat, no worry.
Definitely.
It's awesome. They
All
got
is
they got it
well.
made in Montreal.
Yeah. All is well in Montreal right now. They're thriving. To Minnesota now, and they've kind of started to find their footing. They slipped a little bit in the standings while Taylor Heise was out. Yesterday, news comes out she's activated off LTIR and she plays versus New York. They win 2-0. Um, so is this just the train kind of picks up where we left off with Taylor Heise in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think, well, and Liz Shepard's back in the lineup as well. So that's
Right.
also an added boost down the middle, right? So now they're back to, I don't want to say back to good, but back to better. And, they're coming off that 4-3 overtime win against Toronto. So they were like, okay, really looking for something. And I think that, yeah, she was the boost that the team needed, especially for Grace Zumwinkle to have her pal back and play with. I mean, she played 18 minutes, almost
Yeah.
18 minutes of ice in that game. So it's not like she was just like a passenger trying to get back in it. Like she played. Liz Shepard, I
Yeah.
said,
Shout out to Ice
Shepard's
Time on the
back in.
PWHL website now also. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, I know. Thank goodness. So they had their depth back in the middle. And, even though, they weren't scoring goals or anything like that, they're there and they're contributing. And it's just like almost a security blanket for the team. Um, what I liked about that Minnesota New York game was I was excited about it because all the other meetings between those teams went to overtime, which is strange to think
Yeah.
because New York's been at the top of the standings, and they've had a tough time with New York. Although this one didn't go to overtime, but like that got me thinking about like the playoff uh setup that the PWHL has and that they announced, and like so let's say, Minnesota doesn't finish in that top spot and doesn't get to pick, then it's going to be a little dicey if New York can just weasel on in there.
Oh, whoever gets in the playoff. We'll talk about the playoffs soon, so won't get too deep in the weeds with that. But
Sorry.
it's
Yeah.
going to be crazy when it comes to
It
that.
is. It
Yeah.
is. It is.
The other thing, Minnesota based right now, earlier this week, Sophie Jakes gets her first goal
I
and her
know.
second goal of the season. I saw Boston fans kind of sad about this online, but Minnesota fans should be so excited. Like she's coming.
Huge. I was so happy for Sophie because um yes, she got traded, but it wasn't because Boston was like, she's not doing what we want. Let's move her. It's because Natalie Darwitz, and like, what a compliment this is to a player. Natalie Darwitz was like, well, not first of all, Natalie was coaching with the Gophers, so she saw what
Yeah.
Sophie's could be doing for 3 years. And when I was talking to Dara about the trade, she was like, I wanted her. And I was like, let's see if we can make this work because I know what she's capable of, and I think I can get her there and beyond. And like, on that play on her first goal, she came down, she had the puck, she made a cool little dipsy doodle move below the goal line, and I was like, whoa, okay, there she is. Like, that's what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And she didn't rush back. She did not rush back to the blue line, which is what a lot of defensemen do. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm down here and I shouldn't be. It's like, no, 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 no. You're down there because you know what you're doing. And she had the confidence to stay down there, and she did. And then the puck obviously came back around. There was a shot, and she was right in the right spot. It was like a backhand slap shot, if you will, back into the net, and she scores. And I was like, this is it. That's exactly what Darwitz was going to get her back to doing. And you didn't really see much of that with Boston for whatever reason. So it was nice to see, her not only get one, but get two. And it was like, hey-oh, let those floodgates open for the kid. And yeah, I'm just proud of her. And I'm glad that trade worked out exactly how Darwitz wanted. And I'm excited to see what Sophie's going to be bringing to the table the rest of the way. Because like I said, she's on a good team who finally has their depth back. And, sometimes when you play with great players, like everyone in Montreal is going to be a better hockey player because they get to see how, Poo trains and how Daou trains and all of that. But like now, Sophie's going to be defending, Grace Zumwinkle and Taylor Heise on the regular. Kendall Coyne Schofield is a leader. And like you pick up these little tricks and bits and from good players when you're finally around them, especially ones that you don't play with. And so I'm excited to see how she kind of, grows and develops as a player, especially with, Darwitz at the helm and Ken Klee behind the bench as well. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Minnesota's going to be triple. Man, the coming down the stretch here is going to be crazy. And speaking of teams who are hot right now, the hottest team, the PWHL, Toronto makes it 7 in a row. And you pointed out, Tess, that includes a win over every other team in regulation. 8 in a row now for Campbell. Man, like, what is clicking with Toronto right now? Hockey just seems to be so easy for them.
You know what? I felt like, okay, Campbell finally got her confidence back. But it's like, why does a goalie get their confidence back? Something has to change the way they're seeing the puck and seeing the play. So I'm like, there had to have been a defensive change. So I was trying to put my finger on it. And so I started chatting with, Gina Kingsbury, Renata Fast, Spooner. I was just like trying to get a little bit out of them as like, what exactly was it? And like for the most part in watching the game, you kind of noticed they did clean up some stuff. Renata, Gina, and Spooner, they were all like, we were a little too confident at the beginning of the season. And, in preseason, they were all learning new systems and all this stuff. And I think that players were, Renata had said, everyone was thinking a little bit too much as opposed to just playing, which happens.
Yep.
But I feel like when you watch them, whenever they're in the neutral zone, you're like, my gosh, this is a train wreck out here. And like, even their breakouts, you're like, holy moly, like guys, pull it together. And I feel like they did. Whatever it is, whatever they did, they cleaned something up or simplified it. They made it more, less thinky, more dewy for the girls, if that makes sense. And so I think it's working fantastically for them. But also I think that, like I said, I've said it before and I won't say it again. They had all their players, all their top end players really playing mediocre hockey all at the same time, which wasn't great. And then, Spooner catches fire, Turnbull starts going, Renata and Jocelyn start playing a lot better, and find their footing
right now.
Right. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's it. And, yeah, it was nice to see them finally beat Ottawa. And is that weird to say? Finally beat Ottawa? They had lost to them both meetings before, which is so strange. Ottawa's got their number. Like, what a rivalry that is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The Battle of Ontario lives strong. I don't know. I think it's great. I love this league. I love everything about it. And I love that it gives us something unique to talk about every week. I say unique, and we always complain about talking about Spooner scoring goals, and which she did. She got a goal and an assist. So,
yeah. You mentioned it beforehand, but this week the PWHL announced their playoff format and their draft order. So this is interesting.
I love it.
PWHL playoffs will include the top 4 teams in the regular season standings, with the first place finisher being awarded the opportunity to select its semifinal opponent. So, do we think that this is gonna... How do I ask this question? Is anybody not just gonna select the 4th place team?
The 4th place team is Ottawa, and you're Toronto, and they've beat you in more games that year. Are you taking them?
I don't. It just feels like you open the door.
Fans?
Yeah, it just feels like you open the door if you select the team that's just not the lowest seed just seems like you're opening the door on a can of worms that I don't know. It just feels like I don't think a lot of people would want to open. Just knowing the sport, knowing the people in it, like nobody likes to ruffle feathers.
Right. Coaches are going to look at matchups, period. And like,
Yeah.
and I mentioned Ottawa, and I'm only going to reiterate this. And I know I've sent a lot of love to their fans, but that's going to be a hard barn to play in
Yeah.
playoffs.
Another record broken yesterday for Ottawa. Like they break the record every single week that they have a home game. They break their home record.
That's all they do. They just break records. Everyone should just walk in with a vinyl and just smash it when they walk in. That should be their thing when they score goals. Everyone's smashing vinyls because that's all they do is just break records. But yeah, I don't know, man, because anything can happen really in this league. And
for sure,
you're looking at matchups like Minnesota. Outside of their game on Sunday, all of their games went to overtime with New York.
Yeah.
So it's like there's sometimes your matchups just aren't great against a team for whatever reason. But, like you said, playoffs are a whole new beast and it's a whole new season. So, but yeah, I would look at that stuff. I look, if the difference between third and fourth place is 1 point, is the fourth place team really a fourth place team?
No, you're right. Yeah. That's true.
Anyways, I'm excited for it. And I love the fact that when you're eliminated, that tanking doesn't help.
Yes. Okay, that's what I wanted to get to, the gold plan. So that's how the first overall pick for the 2024 PWHL draft will be assigned. Once a team is mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, that team begins earning draft order points in all the games after they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So that uses the league's standard point system that awards 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime or shootout, 1 for a loss or overtime loss or a shootout loss, 0 for a regulation loss. The team with the most draft order points at the conclusion of the regular season will earn the first selection in each round of the draft. So no more snake draft either. I'm into this because like 6-team league, you can't have a team tanking for first overall place, though I don't think we're seeing that happening at any point, and this just makes sure that doesn't happen. It's a pretty cool idea.
Totally. And I think the 3-point system keeps everyone in the race for the entirety of the season, quite frankly, like majority of it, because like 4th to 6th, there's 2 points separating all those teams, 2. So everyone's still in it. Like no one's even close to being eliminated from the playoff race.
Yeah.
So let's say you inevitably it's going to happen. Someone will be eliminated, but like, I like that all of a sudden, the fight for Fillier or whoever you think will be the first overall, is alive and well. And then that's gonna bugger with the top 4 standings because those teams are still going hard to take games and take points from the top teams. So no one's gonna be able to take their foot off the gas pedal at any point or rest players technically at any point during the season.
Yeah. Full steam ahead, y'all.
First place is important. Yeah.
Majorly. Trade deadline on March 17th. So that's the last day for any sort of player movement. I feel like we're going to see some before then. That's not very far away. It's just a couple weeks kind of in the future. Yesterday, Jeff Merrick reported in his Rink Fries column that Montreal and Boston are apparently in discussions about a Dempsey and Darkangelo trade. I guess I won't ask your thoughts on that because it's not official or anything like that. But is there any moves that you have eyes on right now, Tess, when it comes to player movement in the PWHL? I'm kind of putting you on the spot right now, but anything you got eyes on?
No, I would be surprised if Ottawa wasn't trying to get in the mix because we've talked about them. They're playing good hockey. They are. Yep. Before that 6-3, when was that 6-3 loss to Montreal? Back on the 29th. Montreal had the most goals for in the league, and then Ottawa was in second place.
Yeah.
Before that. So, it's like
happens fast.
They could say, "Oh, we would get a chance." It does.
It's a crazy league, like, man.
Okay, it is. But you need that help to find the back of the net. And it's like it can't keep coming down to like, well, we've been out shooting and we've been out chancing. And it's like, yes, but you need the win. And they've been doing great taking games to overtime and stealing points there. Some games they kind of blow their lead and then whatever. But like I would expect Ottawa to get in the mix to try and bolster something. I don't know what New York's thoughts are. I feel like they should be producing a bit more. Maybe they just need more depth in scoring. But yeah, I would expect to see, the bottom of the barrel try and really get something going, because
Yeah.
Boston made that move with Minnesota, and it was a move with a purpose. Like Boston got a great center and a pretty good D, and Minnesota got the defenseman they were hoping and dreaming for. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I would like to see, if I see moves, I don't want to move just to move. I want to see a move with a purpose. And I think Ottawa will have to do something like that.
Intention. Let's see some intention.
Mm-hmm.
That wraps up our headlines for this week. And thank you to Molson Canadian for sponsoring that. Next 3 weeks, we're really excited about that partnership. And we're really excited for you guys to see the kind of surprises they have coming for International Women's Day in the PWHL. And we're also really excited for this interview this week. We have one of our favorites on. And our interviews on Jocks and Jills is always brought to you by Nobis. Shout out to our friends at Nobis. They're providing all of our interviewees with the jackets. They've got the best jackets or the best peeps there. So thank you to Nobis for sponsoring this interview with the one and only Jill Saulnier.
Oh, man. Jill, I got to tell
so
you, we
much
got to
fun.
get ready. Got to tell you, we got to get ready. We should get a counter or something going. Jill has been known in interviews to make up words and use sayings that don't fit. So if it happens, just let it happen. Yeah, we'll let her know at the end of the interview about it. But it's a beautiful part about her, and she's a beautiful human being, and I just love her so much. She's so funny, and I'm excited to have her on.
Yeah. Okay. So we're excited about this one. Ladies and gentlemen, our interviews on Jocks and Jills, always presented by Nobis. Here's Jill Saulnier. All right, our next guest on the Jocks and Jills pod is a two-time Canadian Olympian and gold medalist. She's a Halifax native and one of the proudest East Coasters out there. She became one of the first two Nova Scotians to earn Olympic gold in women's hockey in 2022. She spent her collegiate career at Cornell University, where in her junior year, she led the country in points per game, was a first-team All-American, and a top 3 Patty Kazmaier finalist. She's currently ripping it up for PWHL New York. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jocks and Jills, Jill Saulnier. We're so fired up for this one. We feel like this is kind of part 2 to the Abby Rock interview that was absolutely electric, because you guys are kind of a little bit of a dynamic duo in New York. And I feel like a good place to start is the fact that she kind of sewered you on this very podcast by telling the world, Jill, that you go sockless in your skates. Can you confirm or deny?
That was wild. You know what's crazy is I started wearing socks because of that. I was just ruining all my skates.
No, you were bullied into it.
I was, yes, absolutely. Like absolutely forced into wearing socks. And that one day, like she is just on my tail all the time. So she saw it and then exploited me on your podcast, which took off. So I was just like, you're gonna get it on mine. So
So the hockey world bullied you into wearing socks and not having smelly skates.
Yes.
Thanks to Abby Rock. Thank you, Abby Rock, for getting rid of another non-sock wearer. Way to go, Abby.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Serious.
Look, I'm a huge advocate of the East Coast. I think it's the best coast. My dad was born out there, but that's neither few and far between. I feel like, I love going to the East Coast. I visit Cabot when I can. It's just a different vibe out there. So let's start out there, where everything started with you. I mean, your mom, Christine, who's a beautiful human being. I got to chat with her quite a bit. She is quite a lovely human. So much so, actually, sticking with the Abby Rock, Jill, get this. Julia, I asked her, I was like, yo, Abby, is Jill on your wedding list? Like, just let me know. So if she's not, I could
come on, that's the slam dunk.
Oh no. She's like, you know what it is? She is, but I met her mom last weekend, and it's Jill and her mom on my list. Her mom made the list. Christine's on the list.
That's incredible. She's got to be.
Okay, well, Well, then I started chatting with her, and I realized why. She's a good time. Nonetheless, your mom really wanted you to be a gymnast, and that straight up did not happen. Your dad always made sure you had an outdoor rink at your place, and I'm sure your brother had a massive impact on you wanting to play too. So let's start with your love of hockey and where that started and how that came to be.
Yeah, no. Firstly, mom and myself hopefully did crawl on that wedding list. Like she texted me one day and she was like, "Hey, Jill, like out of the blue, like we don't talk every day. Hey, Jill, I just have a quick question. How do we get on her wedding list? I was like, Mom, we just met. Like, I don't know. Like, do your work. I don't know. Just slide into the DMs. She did. She'll get in there. But yeah, no, I grew up just out in the Maritimes, like you said. And Tess, I swear you're part Maritimer too. You give me the Maritime vibe every time we chat. So, and I know you love it too. So I appreciate every time you go out there to hit me up. Let me know you're in the East Coast, which I love. But yeah, grew up in the backyard, literally playing road hockey and like most of us, and fell in love with it that way, to be honest. Obviously there weren't girls when I was out there. So played with the boys for a while and had to leave home. Like the classic chase in the Olympic gold story. Left home. That was tough. And then kind of just, followed a puck for 32 years on Thursday. So it's been a journey I wouldn't trade for like $5. So.
How old were you when you did have to leave home, and how hard was that?
I was 15, and it was kind of funny because I like was so attached to my parents, like especially mom. Like I was like wouldn't leave her side. Like she wasn't allowed to go downstairs when I like went to bed when I was little. Like I was just like a nightmare child. She would call it jail. She would like yell down to me like I'm in jail. It was like how much
it is.
That's awesome. Like you can get it, Tess. It's just like, and now I see it. Now I feel kind of bad, but that was so. But yeah, I was 15, so that was just, and I just knew we all like knew I had to go, but nobody wanted me to go. I didn't want to go, but it was just it was the only option at the time, right? So, yeah, we drove down to Massachusetts. I went to a prep school, and then I would just bump around from there. As soon as I got the national team under my belt, then it was just like fire behind me, and I never stopped. So.
Yeah, you were playing boys. Your mom was saying that you took like a massive hit one game, and that's when you guys kind of sat down, and because you were playing body contact with the boys, and she was like, "Okay, I think I've seen enough here." And then she had mentioned you went down to that private school, but they were making it difficult on you to go to that U18 tryout, huh? And so she was like, "We weren't sure if that was the right fit." And you met, who was it? Was it Jenner you met?
Yes. So then you went. She came out to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I met her, and we just like didn't know on the East Coast. We were like, it was such a bubble out there. I just like didn't know there was other girls that played everywhere. Like we'd watch the national team, like I'd watch you, and we were like, that was our goal. But I didn't think about like where all these women played and like grew up. And so I went to Ontario, which is where Jenner was, and in the PW, what was the league called? PW. It's not PWHL, whatever that like Ontario league was. So I went out there, and I went to Stony Creek tournament, and it was all girls teams, like all girls organizations. And for us out on the East Coast, it was like maybe 6 girls playing in the boys organization. So my dad came up to me, he was like, Jill, like there's no boys on this team. There's no boys on this Stony Creek team or this Toronto Aries team. Like this is all girls. And we were just like mind blown. Like, and that was it. Took off from there.
What do you kind of remember about moving to girls hockey? Was it smooth? I feel like we talk about this with everybody that comes on our
hockey.
Podcast.
Oh my,
it blows
God.
Your mind.
It was crazy. Like it was just, I just couldn't believe like there was no boys around. It was awesome. Like no offense to the guys, but I was like, this is it. There's no guys around. So that for me was like the most exciting thing and like the best experience. And then I got to meet like just the best part of life and hockey, just all these like incredible people. And I think it's like truly shaped me to how I am today. Like obviously I'm like pretty bubbly, social kind of gal. And I try to carry that in a dressing room. Sometimes it bites me in the ass, but most times it gets me a lot of wonderful people. So yeah, it was a great switch eventually. And I mean, it led me to my lifelong dream and playing in the pro hockey now, which is just like mind blowing to me. But
so I talked about how you and Blair,
pretty awesome.
Yeah. First Nova Scotians to win gold in Olympic women's hockey for Canada. You guys were aware of one another kind of growing up? Like, tell me about the Blair and Jill story.
Blair and I played together. We were like 13. We had this like little like dynamic firecracker team, spring team. So we played together like 20 years ago. But then our paths like never really crossed other than with like Nova Scotia and at, the Atlantics and Nationals. And then we like really came back together when we got on the national team. I stood in her wedding last summer, which is like amazing and also hilarious because she's like one of my favorite players to play against because we go at it. Like, I'll never forget one time in the CW before the PW, we were like playing in a game and like we're like yapping at each other. And I'm not like really mouthy, but she was yapping at me and I was yapping back at her. And like it was like just the most typical maritime friendship you could ever experience. Like just like so hard nosed, so like I'm gonna literally do anything I can to make your day miserable. And then, you know, after we obviously went and probably got a glass of wine and a nice dinner wedding last year, and she's one of my favorite people on the planet. So I just feel like that's been an amazing story. And when we won the Olympics last year, like I was emotional when we won. Obviously, like you guys know the feeling of that, Tess. You get that, but it's when I saw her, it was like I felt like it was like a whole other level of emotion because I just felt like I did something with like a sister, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you organized her bachelorette, right? She had said she was, I mean, everyone I reached out to, Jill, every single person I reached out to, I was like, all right, give me a little nugget on Jill Saulnier. And everyone's like, oh, it's got to be a phone call. I can't text it. And everyone's like, Jill Saulnier, where to start? And so it got to a point where I was like, what do you even mean? And then in talking with Brianne Jenner, I was like, is she the Phoebe from Friends? And she's like, she's more of a Joey. And I'm like, she's the Joey of the Friends group. I get it. And then I talked to Blair and Blair's like, man, she did my bachelorette and she crushed it. And I'm like, really? She's like, I'm so surprised because it was organized. I'm like, okay, so let's ask Jill. Who helped you organize, Jill?
I need to tell you, I was so nervous to plan her bachelorette because we are the complete opposite. And she and I just like took it on because it was in we had it in Montreal at my billets had a chalet up there. So like I had the foundation of the bachelorette, which kind of meant like I now have adopted the captaincy of this bachelorette. And like this was now my job to make sure that Blair's bachelorette went well. And I had never organized a bachelorette before. So yeah, I took the reins and it was the most organized. It was also like the most I've ever like worked on a project, studied for an exam. Like it was bachelorette above like everything. Like I was like losing sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. one day and ordered like things for her bachelorette to like hang on the walls. And the gal showed up early. The cast was a great ringer. She came in, we were like blowing up balloons all day. It was awesome. We had a great time.
So what are the deets? Where'd you go? What were some of the things?
We went to Tremblant. So all the girls came in. And it was hilarious. Like we had a great group. Like it was a fun group. We went up there and we did like the spa. We did like a night out in the in the town there, like that like strip of like all those different restaurants and bars and stuff.
Did you hit up the Caribou?
It was so fun. We went to Caribou. Yes.
Awesome spot.
Caribou. Yeah. It was awesome. And then we jumped to another one where we were like, okay, I was like, I'm going to get a booth for Blair. And then it said like, I don't know like how much we can expose on this podcast, but I'm going to expose her big time. So we went to this other place and it was like, everyone gets a booth. And then there's a dance. There's like a cage dance. So I was like, I'm going to put Blair in this cage. So I first thought I was like, she's going to kick me out of the wedding. Like, there's no way she's going to let me. Anyways, we went to this other bar and it was all bachelorettes. So I also didn't realize that. So then it became like we're so competitive. So I was like, you have to be the best in the cage. Like if you're going up there, like, so anyways, it ended up being like so funny. We were like, everyone's like hyping her up. And it was like the most typical hockey girl experience. Cause I was like, this bachelorette has now turned into a competition and like, you need to be the best.
Was she the best in the cage?
Yes, she was the best in the cage.
Blair did it. Wow.
I feel like I need to see this visual.
She's gonna kill me.
You got vids?
I actually don't because we were all like it was honestly as if we were like in a game. We were like hyping her up. Like, come on. It was so fun. It was good. It was great. It was great. She's gonna kill me.
Add that to her resume. And it's funny that you mentioned like you'd never worked that hard on a project or anything, because when I was talking to Brianne Jenner, and she was like, she's more of a Joey, you know, like easily distracted. And it got to a point where like as a team at Cornell, we had to implement like mandatory study hall for Jill, and we would like have a rule, an unwritten rule amongst everybody, like don't say a word to Jill or don't distract Jill. She's never allowed to leave study hall. She has to be in study hall. We need her to be eligible. And she was like, and one day I walked into the study hall in the locker room and I was just like, I'm going to go to Tim Hortons. Does anybody want to come or anybody want anything? And you were the first person to pop up. You're like, yeah, I'll come. Everyone was like looking at Jenner like, no. Did you know that was going on?
I actually didn't know it was like mandated for me, but that does make sense. I just at the time, I have such FOMO that like when the girls are around, like I just want to do whatever's going on. But ironically, I did really well in school. I got really good grades. So it did work, obviously, because I guess jail again. Apparently everywhere I go, I'm in prison. So like that seems to be like a successful way for me to get things done. But yeah, I do remember them actually forcing me in the room. But naturally, everyone kind of flooded in and we ended up probably having a couple dance parties in there and having a good time. So it worked out.
I heard you're a good dancer.
Pretty good dancer. Depends on the crowd. I wasn't taking Blair's thunder though. Her strut.
Well, that's because it's her batch. And Blair deserves the spotlight and all of the glory in the cage.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So yeah, I was gonna say.
So we talked a little bit about university days school-wise. What made you choose Cornell?
I think back when I was doing my visits, well, it was kind of funny. I jumped to so many different high schools. Like I was all over the map in high school, kind of like I was saying. So when I started getting recruited for college, the universities would call my advisor at Appleby, which is where I graduated high school from. And they were like, what's wrong with her? Like, grades seem okay. She's like a decent hockey player. Like, but like, why is she in a new school like every 6 months? And I was actually really shy in high school. So that can come out of my shell yet or to fruition. So yeah. So I was like mortified that people thought there was like something wrong that I kept getting like sent to all these like different high schools, but I was just chasing the best hockey that I could to get myself in the best position to go to college and to ultimately, win a gold medal. But it had nothing to do with my character or my grades or anything. So when they started calling them by she's like a good kid. Like she's fine. She does well in school. She's just obsessed with hockey. That it was okay. And then that's when I started to kind of like have communication with different schools. And Cornell was just, Jenner was there and she was like a good buddy and just, someone that I looked up to in hockey, but also in life. So she was there. And there was, Rebecca Johnson, who's another really good buddy, was there. And there was a lot of Canadian players at Cornell. Doug was a Canadian coach. He was affiliated with the national team. And at the time, like, I know you're not supposed to pick a school based on like where the hockey's going to get you. But at the end of the day, I wanted to go to Ivy League school. I wanted to challenge myself academically. I knew I could do it. So I wanted to do that. But I really just wanted to go to the Olympics. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. And I was able to do that. But I went to visit Wisconsin and my dad called me because it was like beautiful. Yeah. And they're like, here's a free iPad. I was like, what? Like, I can't. Like, that's insane. Like, I go to the library to use a computer. Like, I was just like, that's like, what do you mean you're giving away iPads? And like, they brought me on the field and it was just like, I was like this like queen of that. And I said, I can't go there. Like, I have to go to an Ivy League school. Like, I really want to like challenge myself, which is like Wisconsin, amazing school. I would have been challenged there. And my dad was like, what do you mean you're not going to Wisconsin? Like, it's amazing out there. And I was just like, I don't know, Dad. So it ended up working out and I met some pretty amazing people and I'm here today. So
I heard that it was the scooter that almost had you hooked, line, and sinkered for Wisconsin. And your mom was like, God. You want a scooter? I'll buy you a scooter.
Literally,
did she get you a scooter?
Yes. But did Jenner tell you about this story? The scooter?
Yeah, she told me.
Oh my God. This is
it was like a banged up old ratty scooter. What was the name of this thing?
What did I call it? No, I have to tell you the story. It is so embarrassing, but I was so proud. And in hindsight, like, I hope my child's nothing like me if I have a child. Like, I hope my daughter doesn't do anything that I've done. But I wanted a scooter. I went to Wisconsin for visits, and all the girls had like these beautiful like mopeds. They're like in this like big high rise. They're going to the rink, and I was like, this is what I need to get. But So I went to Cornell and I was like, oh, no one has scooters here. Like I really wanted a moped. So I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I really want this scooter. It's $175. I found it online. Craigslist.
Nice. That's such a Facebook marketplace find.
Incredibly cheap.
Incredibly cheap in the middle of Ithaca, New York, in the woods, in this like random garage. So I was like, brilliant. 10 out of 10. Let's go.
Perfect.
So I went to get this scooter. Perfect. It was it had like a zebra print, like duct tape seat. It was so loud, it sounded like an airplane was taking off. So everywhere I went, everybody knew I was coming. And somebody stole my helmet, my like scooter helmet that all the girls at Wisconsin, like, they didn't really wear.
Did they leave the scooter and just take the helmet?
Yeah, they left the scooter. The helmet was more expensive than the scooter. So they took my helmet. So I had to wear a helmet. So my teammate gave me like, you know, the old Jofa with the white caves. And I would wear that.
No way.
And I used to wear like to games. I would wear like, I was like right into like big like pumps, like big heels, big hoops. I would wear like hot pink all the time. Like, I don't know what, but that's what I would wear. So I would come to games on the scooter with the Jofa helmet with these big stilettos on and hoops and this like blazer. And it was just like, I have a picture up. It was just, in hindsight, I'm so embarrassed, but
I'm so glad that you have photo evidence of this. We need it all.
I do.
I was going to ask for it.
I do. It's like shared. In action. It's like the blazers like in the wind. I was like, oh my God. Oh my
That's
God.
so good, man.
Do you know where that scooter lies today? Do you know where it is?
I left it. When I graduated, I just left it at my place. And there was like 50 tickets wedged in the front. And I was like, I can't afford that. I gotta go. I left the country. It's just like, come out.
That's so
There's
good.
a warrant for me to ship Cornell.
That is amazing. 100%. I love it. Cornell, if anyone is ever visiting there and you need to scoot around. Although I heard that thing didn't even make it up any hills.
It didn't. One time, Cuddy jumped on the back. I was like, come on, ride on my scooter. Because that's what the girls would do at Wisconsin. They would share. So I was like, come on my scooter. And I had to get her to hop off halfway. I was like, we're not going to make it. No goof.
Only room for one. Wait, Tessa, you heard about Jill's cooking skills as well at Cornell, though, too. Like you were pretty infamous in the kitchen.
Have they improved? What
girls rude?
No, you just Tessa. What were some of the examples? Like the examples are insane.
Jill, baked beans with imitation crab meat.
What kind of university students buy imitation crab meat?
How are you alive?
I'm gonna cry. The best.
And what's Jill's chicken? What's Jill's chicken?
Oh my God! No. I'm not gonna make it through this podcast. So I can't cook. I can't cook. Let's call us. I try so hard, and like Jessie Eldridge, my best friend here, is like an incredible cook, and I'll like offer to cook. So she's like, we're not eating. It's not edible. But I wanted to make beer chicken. I heard like beer chicken was a thing, so I took like a Bud Light can, stuck it in the middle of a can with chicken around it. I don't know what I was thinking, and shoved it in the oven. Like prison. She should be arrested. Like,
so you put chicken just around on a pan, around a can that was stood up?
Around a Bud Light. Yeah. It was like, and I would just like cover it in maple syrup. I don't know. I can cook a little bit now, but I don't do that anymore. I don't know. I had a hard time.
So you eat out?
Yeah, I eat out a lot.
That's glorious. Yeah. I love it. Maybe we'll just have to hook you up with some cooking classes. I mean, look, we've had one really bad Chipotle order on this podcast already, but I think your imitation crab meat with baked beans and your chicken that got cooked in the oven sitting next to a beer kind of takes the cake.
I had a hard time in college. Hard time.
Oh, buddy. You get to play with and against Americans now. Like before, it was. I mean, you didn't really play with a ton of Americans in Calgary when you were at the Inferno, right? So, But you got to know some of them, and your mom always told me about the first time that you met Kendall Coyne and how stoked you were at under 18s. And she was like, "Do you remember that?"
Oh yeah, like she was so good. I was like, she was the best player I'd seen, right, when I was like little, other than Mare. So I was like starstruck almost.
And then, do you remember telling your parents and what your dad said?
Yeah, he said you can't be friends with them. You have to slash her on the face off or something. He was like, I was like, I'm not doing that. She's cool. And then we played together. We were line mates. He does.
You were line mates?
Kendall and I, yeah, last year with Adidas. So that was fun. Full circle.
Oh, right.
Team Adidas. I know. I was like, what? Where? And then I forgot the PWHPA.
Yeah. So I guess we can heel turn a little bit. We haven't talked really at all about the Olympics. We could start in 2018, I guess, your first Olympic experience. Didn't end the way you guys wanted, obviously. Do you remember the conversations in the room after that loss in 2018?
Oh, I don't really remember what was said. It was quiet. Like it was just so fleeting. It was so bad and so hard that it made me play hockey for 4 more years to do it again. That's how tough that day was. And I blew my knee out in the semis. So like that was another thing. I was just like, it was so many emotions and so many, like, I was like, there's no way this is our Cinderella story. Like it's going to happen the next time. And it took a long time to get over that. I'm still not over that, but our Cinderella did happen 4 years later. So
I feel like for you specifically, I feel like for you specifically, it would have been like, a roller coaster ride of emotions in a sense where like, you had made the world's team in 2016, 2017, the year leading into a centralization year. You got cut from the world's team. They hadn't announced the centralization roster yet. So what was that like? That must have been terrifying for you because you made a world's team in 2016. You think, okay, I'm cruising. I'm well on my way to, potentially cracking this roster for an Olympic team. Then you get axed right before, Olympic tryouts. So what kind of headspace were you in? I guess leading into that, and then all of a sudden, you do make the teams. You're on a high, and then the world comes crashing down again. When was that? What was that like? And then I guess at the end of that, when was your upswing? When did those emotions come back up and you realize like, yo, we got a silver at the Olympics. Like, this is great.
The world's break before was a stinger because not only had I, and I say this in the most humble way possible, but not only had I not that been I got chopped from that one, but that was the first time since I was 15 or 16 that I'd ever been cut from a team, the national program, because I was fortunate to play a couple of years with U18. And then I jumped right to U22 when I was 18 and then rode that one out all 4. So I was feeling like pretty confident. I was like, geez, they're going to keep me around here. I felt like good. I mean, you can never feel good there, but like as good as you can. Right. So, so that one to me was like, oh my God, like, am I done? Like, is this like, I literally thought my career was over because I was like, why would they do that? They're worlds before, like I couldn't understand it. And I did point fingers. Like I did totally was like victim mentality at first. I was like, this is not fair. Like, I can't believe they would do this to me. Like, this is so random. I was having a good year. And then I was so distraught over that I like stepped away. I like stepped back and I was just like so mad. I was like, screw it. And then my brother called me and he was like, you need to get back in the gym and you need to get back on the ice because there's so many people in Nova Scotia that need you to go to this Olympics in 6 months. And he's like, not even just for you, but like a lot of people need to watch you do this. And it was just enough for me to get back at it and just like even harder and use that fire, which I like to say that, and I like to believe that I play with that kind of fire and that kind of electricity. And I think that comes from, the belief of the people back home and the Maritimers that, that have kind of rode this journey out with me. And obviously that did get me back on the roster, which was amazing. And then the loss was tough, but the silver was hard and I didn't really swallow it or really embrace it at all until I went home. to the Maritimes, and like it sounds stupid, but like I went out to the bars, or I'm down at the lower deck, and like all my girlfriends are there, my brother and all his buddies are there, and they're all like wearing this medal, and it's like I can see it, like no disrespect to the big medal, but I can really see it flying around this bar. Like I don't even have it. I'm like, go ahead, guys, take a picture, whatever. It's silver, and then I started to like slowly just like embrace how excited other people were and like how cool of an experience it was. So it was almost like I had my moment with it. It was over. Like I got it around my neck and that was cool. And then it was over. And then I got to like seriously just like keep reliving how excited other people were. And that was even that was a whole different story with the gold one. Like that was just I feel like I just get the gold medal over and over. So that was kind of my roller coaster of that.
And then you go from like there's images and videos of you. And I remember I was working at NBC at the time covering that Olympics, and they panned to the bench, and there's a picture of you and Blair Turnbull. One of you is on the bench and one of you is off the bench, and it's like it made me cry. I was like, that is a very heavy picture of defeat, and like you could see the responsibility that you guys were carrying with you. And it wasn't just like you guys were obviously playing for each other, and you wanted to rep the jersey, and that's a lot of pressure to want to do what teams before you have done, because every 4 years it's a brand new level of compete. It's a brand new hill to climb. So to go from that moment of like utter defeat to kind of, going home and realizing it's not that bad. And then you guys walk into 2022, I guess, what was the team mantra? What were the conversations leading into that Olympic Games where it was like, we're silver medalists now. Like you guys are the underdogs for the first time at the Olympics in a very long time.
Yeah, like that was so hard, because it's like you guys, like you just, the players before, we're just so incredible. We get to know you guys, and like so it's like you just want to keep that ball rolling for for yourself and for your family, but for the women before who were just pure gold and just golden head to toe. So like that defeat was, I know what picture you're talking about. I almost got emotional when you're just saying it, because she's on the ground sitting down, and it's just like I was like, I remember that moment just being like, God, this doesn't get worse. It doesn't get worse than this. And but 2022 was different. Like 2022, we had it, whatever you define, whatever anyone defines as it, it, you've been on teams that had it, and it, like, we knew it. I knew it. And if you pan to me on the bench in the gold medal of that game, I was plunk in the middle I didn't even watch the game in the last 2 minutes. I watched the clock the whole time. Couldn't tell you. And I cried the whole time, because I just knew. I was like, it's done. We did it. And I took my helmet right off, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm emotional. It was over. The silver was done. The silver was in the drawer then, Do
you think it made the gold that much sweeter for you guys? To have experienced the defeat in 2018 and to come back and come together and get it done in 2022?
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever cried talking about it, honestly. I just like, I think I like seeing you, and like, you that too. So it's like making me emotional, but yeah. And it was just, honest to God, it was the people. Like it was seriously the people in the room. And it was just like, it was so much sweeter, 100% knowing, but it was like definitely a team that genuinely believed that when the person next to them went on the ice, like they were going to get it done. And I feel like if you have a team like that, which I'm sure you've been on, like when you believe that, it's like you cannot be beaten. Like you can't beat a team like that. And I think that was just our it factor. And that's something that I strive to surround myself with in everything I do. And that's something that I try to, instill in the people around me who believe that, I'm going to think that of them. And that's how you lift people. And I feel like I felt lifted on a whole different universe that day. And it changed my life.
What was it like to win in that specific Olympics, did it make it almost, it was hard probably not to have your family, friends there. You used to having kind of whole Team Canada entourage in the stands. Do you think with what a special group it was and how unified you guys were, it almost made it more special to be isolated and celebrated together?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the stuff that we did before that was just outrageous. Like the world was outrageous. That's the word. You know, we're working out in hotel rooms. We're getting food dropped at our door that you like can't
like
touch
the Hunger
for 3
Games.
minutes.
It was
It's
crazy.
Like,
3
minutes.
minutes.
Like the Hunger Games. It was crazy. You're sitting in like stalls, like with other athletes, you know, who have just won a gold. Like I sat next to a skater once, like at the Olympics in another stall. We just won a gold medal, and I was just like, congrats! Like I can't even, you know, get too close because I don't really know you, you know. And it was a really bizarre world, but it did like totally unify us in like a whole different level. And we're like also outside the rink. Like now, like we're just best friends. Like we were just like, that team was just a group of best friends that literally just wanted to go play hockey together and just knew that they were going to be the best in the world. And I think it showed. Like I think it really showed.
So then what, with that, it being that time in the world, what was the welcome home like that time? Was it much different? Did it feel different? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, you saw my mom's living room, so it was she made an Olympic village in her house. And my 30th birthday was the week after, so it was fun. It was really cool. We went there, and I think we broke rules. She was like, and I was kind of a stickler with COVID, so I was like, but then after Olympics, she was like, if the police want to come to the door, they can come in and party, or they can. I was just like, what? Like, I was like, okay. So we had that big celebration. Oh yeah, she was like, I don't care what happens. We're having this party, and she invited the local police if they were mad about it. So it was a great celebration. It was really great, and I was able to share it with my family and my grandmother, who has since passed, but she would stay up for all my games, and she stayed up for that one too. So we got to share a moment with that too, which was pretty cool. And yeah, it was just a fairy tale. It was a fairy tale story.
I love that.
Yeah, the whole setup, the Olympic Village in your living room. Do you remember seeing your mom? Like, she was on CTV almost daily during the Olympics when you guys were playing. Do you remember her rise to stardom during that?
Oh yeah, I was like, Mom, you're stealing my thunder here. Like, oh, like, we're 30 years for this. Like, God. No, she was great. Like my parents are awesome. Like my dad's, you know, his side of the family, they had a big party for me too. And they put all the flags up and had like a reel of all the photos going. My cousin, you know, Jacqueline hosted. And it was just like, and then Mom's was like outrageous. Like there's just every jersey I think I've ever worn was hanging in this. She's like, we need a band. I was like, it's COVID. You can't have a band. Like, what do you mean? But it's just her, like the purity of that, of like bringing people together. Like my family, that's just what we do. That's what Maritimers do. It's just, we want as many people around having a good time, having a kitchen party, you know, stomping your feet and drinking a beer with people that you love. And I think that if anything, I'm very thankful that the gold medal brought a lot of people together. I had friends who I hadn't seen in months show up at that door. I had family members I hadn't seen come on in, and it was just, the door was off its hinges for a month, and it was whoever wanted to come in and celebrate together, do it. And it was definitely a highlight of my life for sure.
I love that you said kitchen party. My son's got a book called Nana's Kitchen Party, and it's like one of his favorites. Yeah. I believe Corey Chevry's mom, I'm quite sure, gifted it to my kid. She's an East Coaster as well. But you're like the epitome of an East Coast person, and you can hear it through all these stories you're telling, and just, you know, what really motivates and drives you, and how, you know, easygoing you are. I would like to say, don't judge me. I don't like seafood, but the East Coast is the only place I will actually eat seafood. Like I went out there for Ed's birthday, and I actually ate a full lobster dinner on my own. But like, you do
I didn't
not
know that
follow.
about you.
Yeah, dude.
Should we make fun of? Should we just like take a moment to pause and make fun of Tessa about that, or should we just let her move on? Can I back like seafood? Okay, continue. We've made fun of you. Continue with your childlike palate.
No. I need to back myself up here. Do you guys know Jim Gaffigan? He's a really good comedian. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's got this fish bit. He has this fish bit, and he says everything that I think about fish, and he is right. He is so right. My thing is like, I love the East Coast so much that it's like, I'll go out there and out of no disrespect, for instance, this lobster meal that I had, it was for Ed's 40th. I rented this fisherman boat. This guy was like our captain. What was his name? Was it Conrad? I can't remember. Him and Ed had an instant bromance. He was going to go out tuna fishing like 3 weeks later. And Ed's like, I'm flying back and going fishing with the guy. I'm like, no, you're not. Anyways, so we're on the boat and he's like, I pulled these lobster up this morning and whatever. And he plops them in front of us. And I don't like seafood. So I looked at him like, well, you got to like walk me through how to do this. I kind of know. So anyways, he was just like ripping the thing apart and he had the butter and he made a wicked potato salad. And I was like, this is living right here. Yep. And I was like, what do we do with the shells? And he's like, throw them back in the ocean. It's all cyclical. And it was like, it's a really cool experience. And that's why I ate it, because it's a cool experience. And anything dipped in garlic butter is made for me. So I was like drinking that stuff. Right. Anyways, Jim Gaffigan and the fish thing. I'm telling you, look it up. That's exactly my thoughts. Now, I will say
Papa Guido has like the craziest line of all time. He doesn't like fish either. And he used to go to this like, this is like such an old man story, but he used to go to this like fish market as a kid. He's like, no, I don't like fish. And the guy was like, I could tell. And my papa was like, how? And he said, because fish are brain food. Burn.
I mean, that's not wrong either. So
nice.
I did not go
That is courtesy of Papa Guido, that little story that he tells once a week on Fridays during Lent. So it's the time of year for that story.
Yo, maybe if I grew up in the East Coast like Jill, eating like fresh out of the ocean stuff, I would just totally be like a seafood expert.
For sure.
But clearly that didn't rub off on you either, Jill. What's that?
You tried it though. You tried it. That's all that matters. I feel like anyone on the Maritimes they just want you to try it. Like I don't know if the girls told you the story though, when Worlds got canceled in Halifax, we were all there. We were still in quarantine and we were like, we still kind of had to finish, but everyone was like bummed out. So I was like, why doesn't everyone just come to my cottage? My mom and her husband have a cottage on the ocean, which you have to come to when you're in East Coast anytime. I'm surprised Mom didn't tell you. We play like golf when like out on the clam flats when the tide goes down. It's a pretty good time. But we were there. This is like the most maritime thing ever. There was like all of us were there. Like food stays rolled in. Like cast of mash were rolling in. Like Jess was there. We were all there. Blair came and we were quarantined though. Like so we're at this cottage on this ocean. It's beautiful, but we weren't allowed to go anywhere. So like the neighbors who are my family, they just like came over one day and just dropped off like 13 lobsters. So we were like, and we like cooked them there. And then the girls were like trying to like get them all done up. Like, so that reminded me of that when you were like trying to figure it out. So we were like butter everywhere. It was a mess, but we were in quarantine making all the girls eat lobsters. I think they were well received.
See, that's so East Coast. The neighbors are like, well, look, Jill's home. Better drop off a dozen fresh lobsters for free.
Yeah, that's classic.
But that just kind of like, you are the epitome of that. Like you, there was a tragic fire on the East Coast that happened where a family lost their 7 kids, and you immediately just organized a Firefighters Against the Pros hockey game to raise money for them and their family. And like, I've talked to your mother. She's fantastic. I know your brother's a very successful hockey player as well, but just by the sounds of you talking about your family and your upbringing, you guys are pretty tight knit and you grew up proper. But was that instilled in you, or is that just innate in who you are and in the community that you grew up in to automatically give back? Because I know you have your Jill Saulnier Foundation as well that goes pretty good.
Yeah, I think that the happiest I ever am is when I'm giving and seeing other people happy because of that, and like that togetherness. I see something very powerful in being around good people, and it fuels me. It fuels me to help out. And I think as I'm growing too, I'm seeing that the hockey thing is wonderful, but if we can leverage that and leverage the ability to bring people around to teach people and help people out who, you know, aren't as fortunate. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. And, you know, like you said, you know, maritimers, we like to be around people and people like to help. And, I almost feel when I hear like stuff going on in the world, like that it's like my duty, you know, to try my best to help out. And, yeah, I don't know. It's tough stuff. It's, you know, it's tough stuff to, you know, to talk about and be a part of when people are struggling. But I think I was just born into a really wonderful family, and I was just the lucky one who was surrounded by great people. And my goal is to just try to leave the world a little better than I found it, and just do my best to try to do that. So.
No, I think you created your own luck. You're a hard worker. I know from day one, your dad with your boot camps, you'd always be out there doing extra while your brother was playing video games and stuff. So that's on you, bud. But I think you're one of the very few people in that fundraiser. You had Sidney Crosby donated jersey, Brad Marchand donated jersey. These are like heavy hitter hockey names, especially for the East Coast. And you've got to be one of the only people that had their jersey be bid on and be sold for higher than both of those players. What was that like for you? Like, I feel like that's just a true embrace from your community, being like, yeah, we love you. You're the best kind of thing, you know?
Love you. You're the best. There's like a picture of that in the newspaper, just like the jerseys. And my mom's like, this was the most expensive. Did you buy it? And I was like, okay. She probably bought herself. But yeah, that was funny. That was kind of like a running joke for sure. But yeah, it was that. I mean, Cassie called me right away when that went on. It was not supposed to blow up as much as it did. It was a terrible tragedy and something that I can't even fathom. But yeah, people just started to like the hockey floodgates opened. As we know, the hockey community is so powerful and connected. And people were just sending stuff from all over North America. It was amazing. And yeah, Cass called me. It was like, what can I do? What can I send? Like, and I was like, this is family. Like, this is why I play this sport. This is what it's all about. And that it just made me that much more thankful. And we could help out. We did help his family a little bit, but yeah, it was funny when the jersey went more expensive. So that's something that I definitely still will like bring up once in a while. Especially
how could you not? How could you not?
Yeah.
But somehow we've made it like all the way through this interview, and we've barely talked at all about this season with PWHL New York, how things are going. Me and Tessa have decided that your team is definitely the team that is having the most fun. Like, were you just ripping up New York City on a Saturday night or a Sunday night rather last night? Tell me about it.
We just like, I was talking and she sent me, thank you for the list, Tess, but like I love New York. Like I mean, we're not in New York. We're training in Connecticut, but
it's almost better because then you've got a backyard. You can take a train in. Like, it's almost better.
It's perfect. I have the train down, and like I know many people are probably like frightened of me. Like the amount of people that asked for my location when I got drafted to New York was outrageous. Like I think like 15 of the girls text me was like, send me your location right now before you go to New York. Okay, so they were scared. They were scared. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's a cool city. I'm living down here for a couple of years, hopefully, if they keep me around for a couple of years. And I'm just trying to embrace the city as much as I can. I love it. And playing hockey while I'm doing it. It's just like, it's crazy. Like, it's such a crazy experience. And I'm so lucky. And yeah, trying to soak in New York City as much as I can, though, for sure.
What about your team makes you guys, special? I think obviously you guys are going through it a little bit right now, but at the bottom of the barrel there with Otto, but you're still in the mix. Like my thing when I don't know what your outlook is, but like when I look at the playoffs, and I remember, back in 2014 when the Toronto Furies won the Clarkson Cup, like we made it into the playoffs by 1 point. So really you just gotta make it, right?
Yeah.
So like what makes you guys special and will inevitably make you guys a playoff team and contender?
Yeah, we're grinding right now. Like, but that's sport, like obviously. And if you look at like how the standings, like similar to your point, like you get 3 points if you win regulation. Like we just have to find out how to do that, because if you win 2 or 3 games, like whoop, you're right up to the top. So I'm trying to continue to like kind of push that on the girls and just remind the girls, like, hey, like we're not that far off. It looks like it optically, but like you said, you have to make playoffs, and it's always a good story, especially when you kind of start at the bottom. It's tough to start at the top and stay at the top. So I'd definitely rather kind of go through the hardship now and slowly crack away at the rock, and hopefully we'll kind of come out of it soon. But that's hockey. We got to figure it out, honestly, or we don't. And it's one of those things that's a choice now at this point. So we're just trying to have fun. We do have a great group of girls in the dressing room. The culture is good. Obviously, it's tough when you're getting beat all the time. So we're just trying to turn things around and hopefully go up from here.
What's Carp like? She seems pretty casual and like straight faced and like game face all the time. What's Carp like? She's been ripping it up, and like, have you learned anything from her? Or
she is so I played against her for years, and I actually didn't realize how dominant she was. Like, I knew she was good from playing against her, but playing with her, like, you actually see like the hockey IQ that I don't have. So it's like great to watch. But yeah, she does, like, she plays at another level, and it's pretty cool to watch. And I mean, she's very business oriented, and you know, it's her job, and her job is to score goals, and she's doing her job really well. So I like her. It's been great to get to know the Americans. Honestly, they're a lot of fun. That camaraderie that we had for so long, as you know, kind of comes to surface, and you have a couple chirps here and there, but we get to play together with the best people in the world. It's like a dream come true. It's pretty cool.
So another part of that, I guess, is transactions that happen around the league. The trade deadline's coming up on the 17th. Like, are you guys feeling that? What's the vibe around players when it comes to transactions and the deadline coming up? Because, like, did that first trade that happened with Sophie Jakes kind of make everyone go, oh yeah, I guess I could kind of get traded every time, or is it not something you think about a ton?
No, for sure. My mom called me like frantically. Was like, "Are you getting traded?" I was like, "I don't know. Like, maybe. I don't know. Like, I hope not. But I'm doing my best. But I'll do my best anywhere. So I don't know. But like, I would like to stay here. But
yeah.
I mean, it's also like what I've slowly noticed is that we're so used to playing hockey, and just like it's all set in stone. You go to your PWHPA thing in the past, or your CW, and you're on your team,
exactly,
and that's
yeah.
You're now in a business, and this is like very new for all of us, but like business is cutthroat. Like, business, you need to do well because the business needs to do well. And this is like definitely kind of a new thing that we're swallowing, is like business does involve transactions. You're going to have to get rid of some of your bigger players, some of your younger players, like there's going to be those kind of movements, you know, so that people can shine. And I think you're going to see that throughout the league. Like, obviously you always want your group to stay together, but we understand it's a business, and I'm just doing my best to not mess up the business, and work with my buddies.
I love it. You don't know that we've been counting, but ahead of this interview, before letting you into it, I was pre-warned that you make up words and sayings.
Oh, I didn't make up any today, did I? Is there some?
I think there were like some sayings that I think there were some sayings that were used that were unique. Where does that come from? Is that just like you know, whatever is on your mind, you just speak, or is that just like a nerves thing, or is that just like I am who I am. I'm an East Coaster. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's not a nerves.
Because I heard you got some good clips too.
Oh no, don't show them. Don't show them. They're like, I was like notorious for running interviews in college, like notorious. And there was an old interview that I did when I like first started getting interviewed. I must have been 16. So I was like young and nervous at the time. Like, I was shy. And I started like making up like words and sentences in the interview. I'll find them for you. Like, they're the girls. Like, if the girls are mad, I'll just like send it in a group chat, like to like girls I haven't talked to in like years. They'll just like text me like, this is awful, but it's so good. So there's a few good ones. I hope I haven't made up any today, but if I have, then you want a beer probably.
Okay, we'll go back through and make sure all words used in this interview were dictionary approved and such. But I feel like you got practice or something now. We appreciate the time so much, Jill. Yeah. You're one of our favorites. Good luck with the rest of the season, and thanks again for the time.
Oh, thank you guys. This has been awesome.
Okay, Jill Saulnier is officially one of my favorite people. She is hilarious. Thank you so much again to Novus for sponsoring that interview. You were able to get her on a couple, just kind of random words, Tess?
Random sayings. She's
random sayings.
Like the Cinderella story one. That was our Cinderella.
Oh, that was a good one.
Was it? Yeah, Hammer the Rock. I've never heard that one before. It could be a thing. I'm not sure. There was a couple of them, but they were good. And I appreciate her. I appreciate her mom and everybody who was sending me some funny stories. There was some stuff that was, I don't know if it was inappropriate, but some stuff that like we'll get her on for another interview. We'll chat with it when we got all of her friends on, because I feel like
an After Dark episode.
Oh yeah, with like Brienne Jenner, some of her roommates from college. I got to get some of those recipes. We got to ask for some of the recipes and get those up. But the beer, just putting it on a pan next to a bunch of chicken kills me. I can't.
It's so good because I know that I know the vibe of what she was trying to go for. Like I've definitely seen a recipe where you stick a beer can in a chicken or something like that.
In it, you put the chicken on top of it.
Right, but not just surrounding it like a wreath.
Tell me you know that.
No, I do know that. I've just never done it myself. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just thinking about a 19-year-old version of myself in college. Would I have just thrown some chicken around a can of beer? Like, no, but I understand the attempt is what I'm saying.
I love it. I want to have
I know where she was coming from.
Cook.
Okay, so we don't really have, in this last segment of the show, me and Tessa have been talking about what exactly we want this last segment of the show to be. And obviously, we decided we want to talk to you guys for the last segment of the show. So we're still filling out kind of a name for this. Like, I don't know, the Jill's mailbag, the Jocks and Jills. I don't know. Send us ideas for that too, because we're still figuring that out. But this part is going to be, we have an email. It's jocksandjills@gmail.com. Maybe we can put that on the screen, fire it up or something like that. But it's the same as our handle on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. It's Jocks and Jills on all of it. Subscribe everywhere, please. I beg of you guys. YouTube, and we appreciate you subscribing everywhere. We appreciate all the likes on our YouTube videos and stuff like that. It helps out immensely. But for this segment at the end of the show, you fire us some emails. We'll post this on our Instagram too, so you guys have the email and our full details. But if you want to fire us a question about the league, if you want to fire Tessa a question about being a hockey player, I'm happy to answer questions about broadcasting or media if you guys want to talk about what I do. But just a really open-ended segment where you guys can fire in your questions. If there's something specific PWHL-wise you guys want to talk about, if you have a question about a rule or the league or something women's hockey historically, like anything you want, we just want to open up to you guys for this last segment of the show.
Even interview suggestions, what players you would like to hear from and why. So
totally.
jocksandjills@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from all of you. And I think that's exciting. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, hit us up. And also, I'm not joking about a name idea. I feel like the internet is way funnier than me. So if you guys have a good name idea for, I don't know, Jocks and Jill's mailbag, Jill's hotline, hockey hotline, Jocks and Jill. I don't know. There's a lot floating around in my head. It will have a name next week, and one of you will probably think of it. So I thank you in advance.
The internet.
Thanks in advance for listening to this week's episode of Jocks and Jills. Thanks, Jill Saulnier, for the time today. Thank you to Molson for sponsoring our headline segment. To Nobis, as always, for sponsoring our interview segment. To CCM for being our amazing presenting sponsor for this podcast. We wouldn't be able to put this on without you guys. So we appreciate it, and more than anything, we appreciate all of you for listening and subscribing and liking everywhere and anywhere you're sharing clips or anything like that. The more we're getting this out there, the more of these conversations we're able to have. I know we kind of teased a second episode a week, and we are getting there. We swear, and we vow on it. And we appreciate you all, and we will talk to you next week.